2015 was a fantastic experience. It helps on the journey and it contributed further to the vision, which is to continue in the balance and show the diversity and the versatility that I try to represent, and that is Trinidad. And major successes that allowed me to do that was being in the finals of the Groovy Monarch once again, and of course being able to defend the Calypso Monarch successfully. That was the vision moving forward. That was always the vision for myself, being one of the artists, staying true to the art form and being able to work and straddle both worlds effectively. And I think coming out of 2015 Carnival, the response of the masses and the general culture audience are saying, yes, we recognize what you've been doing and it is manifesting itself in the right way. So 2015 is a wonderful year in terms of that vision that I've held for myself for a while now. People comment all the time that the younger generation are not motivated to involve themselves in Calypso. I beg to differ, because there's a young crop of Calypsonians coming to the fore. For example, in the March Gras this year, 9 out of the 12 competitors were under the age of 40. And the semi-finals of the Calypso Monarch, more than 3/4 of the competitors were under the age of 40. So it's testament to the fact that young people are involving themselves in Calypso. The only challenge that we're having is the audience participation where Calypso is concerned in terms of the younger generation. You find that most of the people who come to the tents are probably over the age of 50. However, interesting dynamic is in Skinner Park. I guess it's because of the festive atmosphere and the party type environment. You have a lot of young people. Is a nice cross section of the demographic coming to Skinner Park. So it is a unique development, I think, that augurs well for Calypso, but of course it requires more work where the young Calypsonians are concerned in terms of understanding modern strategies for marketing and getting your material out there. For example, I take personal interest in doing that. For example, I did a music video for my winning composition, I Believe, which I think is one of the ways that we ought to expose the market to Calypso and create more content, because visual is important. And I am seeing the response and the benefit of that, because when I do a video that young people are able to view via YouTube and Synergy etc., they are now asking and requesting me to perform the Calypso in a number of areas. So yeah, as I just mentioned earlier, part of the challenge is the exposure to the music. I guess at that time, for a lot of the artists, I mean, even before Marshall's time, in the 50s and 60s, the landscape was heavily dominated by a lot of pop and R&B influences, even at that time. And now, for me, the most ascribed to genre of music, well, during Carnival, obviously, is the soca, which I'm still a part of. And during the year, of course, the dancehall, the hip-hop, the urban format. So the challenge really is exposure, and I think what he was able to do, which I would also employ and which I have been employing, is you market as much as possible and you expose the public to the content. And that is the challenge most Calypsonians are facing. We haven't created enough content whereby it becomes critical mass and people are paying attention. Everybody is feeding off of each other's publicity, and that is something the young Calypsonian need to take notice of, because I'm seeing where I have done videos and the young people see me in certain events and they ask me to sing the Calypso, and that is because of the exposure to it. So it just brings me to the point that once people are sufficiently exposed to something, they will grow to like it. And that's an interesting point as well. Calypso is the only genre in the world that allows you to treat with any topic in the way that you want to treat with it. Soca is limited in terms of your ability to provide content. It's primarily festive, primarily party type music. Very rarely you would have a soca song dealing with a social issue, and even if you try to deal with it in a soca format, it is not as well received as a party type song. So the Calypso, and the way the Calypso can be delivered, really facilitates dealing with a number of issues. And I think people want to hear the issues. young people want to hear the issues because we're becoming more socially and politically conscious. And it's just a matter of exposure. Because the Calypso the first song that I did in the March Grad, The Rose, I am surprised to see so many young people in my contemporary age bracket gravitating towards the Calypso, wanting to hear more, commenting on it. So that's an interesting development. So it's really about exposure, and the Calypsonians putting in the work where that is concerned. I don't think Calypso in and of itself, it would never die because it's an institution. You will never not have a Calypso Monarch. You know, that's part of the fabric of the carnival. Like you will never not have a road march. You will always have these elements and aspects of carnival featured. I think the challenge is the love and the participation, the acceptance and the adoration for the music, and where we want the music to go and who we want the music to reach. You know, I think that's the primary challenge right now. Where the work is, yeah. I've been singing Calypso ever since I was 7 years of age. So that will be 20 years now. 20 years, yeah. This year I celebrated 20 years singing Calypso. And in soca, I've been singing soca for about 8 years now.
How old are you now?
27.
Oh, you're still a baby.
Yeah, 27. Yeah. I've been singing from Junior Calypso, coming through the ranks. Participated in Junior Calypso Monarch. I was actually in 2 finals with Ola Tunji, Patrice Roberts. They were slightly ahead of me in terms of the Junior Calypso Monarch. I came a little after them. And I also participated in NJAC, that's the NACC. They have a number of Junior Calypso competitions coming through the ranks. And then a transition from Junior Calypso when I entered UE to the senior level Calypso. And then I started to participate in the tents and the Skinner Park, and then I moved on to the soca scene, and since then been balancing both. Well, I have a number of personal credos. One of which I always try to be myself in every aspect of the work that I undergo. I try to bring my own unique essence and bring that to bear, whether it's the soca or Calypso. So much so that I've heard comments, well, you know, you perform soca like a Calypsonian. And then I've also heard comments, you're performing Calypso like a soca artist. and for me, those comments are quite meaningful. It really is just a reflection of me doing what I was engendered to do. Because my development was very wide, and my experiences and exposure as a young person coming through the ranks was so wide that I think I've adopted an eclectic approach where everything is concerned. I've done the Best Village scene, I've done Parang, I did Pan, then the Calypso, and then my father with the soca, my brother as a urban DJ. So having all those experiences have brought me to a point of saying, you know what, this is who I am, this is who I want to be. And my personal credo is, regardless of what comments people may have, I'm always going to remain rooted in who I am and what I think I represent. And I think as you experience some level of success, that is always a challenge, because as you open yourself more to the public through whatever you do, you're going to get comments, you're going to get negativity. And the challenge is not listening to the mental noise first, because the external noise contributes to mental noise, because 3 people might say one thing, and then in your mind, due to the ego, that might translate into you thinking everybody feels that. You know, so it's being able to separate yourself from that. You know, trying to overcome the thoughts of what people may think of you. That is a major challenge for any artist. Also trying to overcome the spirit of comparison, because the negativity, I think, comes from a place of comparison, because they see somebody else that they may prefer, they compare you to that person, and as a result, the negativity comes through. So my personal belief, as I said, always remain conscious of that fact, being able to separate the negatives and the ego thoughts, the mind thoughts, being conscious within self and focus on who you are. And that is part of the challenge for any artist, and that is a pivotal point for any artist coming into the industry moving forward. That is one of the things I try to encourage among young people. That level of consciousness is so vital. It keeps you grounded, it keeps you focused, and it keeps you alive internally. And the thing about finding that internal peace within self is that it allows you to continue your work, and the more you work for as long as you can, and you stay true to what you're about, and by extension, your craft and your output, at some point people will grow to like it and appreciate it. And that is the power and the value of consciousness and taking control of self. A soulfish. I am a soulfish. I love people. I love engaging and interacting with people. People is my passion. So as a result of that, I've heard comments, and I feel that I am a fun-loving individual, easy to get along with, very easygoing. But I also believe in balance. For me, life is a balance. I am balance. Everything that I do has to be balanced. So part of my personal mantras and credos that, as you asked me earlier, is if I am to do something, is it going to bring balance to my life and to the life of others? And that is how I direct everything that I do.
I have to balance.
Balance in terms of my expectations, my life goals, my daily activities. Everything that I do has to be balanced. The way I look at something.
So that it includes
so everything exactly.
Moves you forward.
So essentially, if I am to examine a situation, balance would mean for me looking at it from all angles and trying to understand. If I'm in a discussion and in an argument, so to speak, with someone else, my philosophy is: am I being balanced in this position? So to the point that I am understanding what the other person is trying to say. So everything that I do, I try to bring balance to it. And even in the arts, balance, calypso, soca, everything that I do, balance. I have lived a life of balance. Academics, I've been involved in sports, I've been involved in many aspects of both formal and extracurricular activity. So that is how I envision myself and how I function on a daily basis. Everything has to be balanced. But also because of my love for people, I'm also very sensitive at times. Sometimes it works favorably, sometimes it not. Sometimes it takes a toll on me emotionally as well.
You feel deeply about people and situations.
Definitely. So that is an issue that I often have to grapple with in terms of people who I consider to be disadvantaged, and people who have not been given a fair lot in life based on whatever circumstances they may encounter. And well, of course, that connection to the disadvantage comes from some work that I did in social work. So I'm very sensitive to that. I also consider myself to be diligent and hardworking. Once I believe in something and I have a particular objective, going hard at it. And some of those values I think would have come definitely from the socialization with family. So I'm very family oriented. I think the family is the most important institution. It is the root that connects you as the tree to the foundation that is the earth. So family is very, very important to me. So that's who I am.
Yeah.
Who I am is who I am. I'm all that I am. Most and foremost. That's all that I am. In career wise, on anything in life, the worst time definitely would have been my dad's passing away in 2010. It was a time where I was just about 22, starting to develop a closer relationship with him in terms of me becoming a man who I wanted to be, what I wanted to represent, and seeing so much of what I wanted to accomplish through him. So holding on to him at that point and really trying to learn as much as possible, developing a closer relationship. And the gods didn't have it that way, and he passed away in 2010. So that was a very difficult period, a very difficult year.
You were always close to them,
Well, I guess through my teenage years, due to me wanting to have my own way at some point, we created some distance. But as a normal teenage parent relationship, but as I said, as I began to mature at the age of 21, 22, we became very close. He was heavily involved in music, so I started to learn a lot from him too. So it was almost as though the relationship was developing and there was a certain connection, and then he was removed from the picture, and all that I wanted to accomplish, I saw him being part and parcel of it. So that was very difficult. But I think the best time was 2012 when I won my first ever title, the Independence Monarch. It was a significant feeling of self-fulfillment, and remembering him and the closeness that we had at the time, the moment of proudness and satisfaction he may have felt. Yeah, that was a significant feeling at that time in 2012. So that was one of the best feelings of my life, having achieved that first time ever achieving a title, first time starting to understand the Calypso and understand stage a little more, and putting it into practice based on his teachings was also very, very significant. So yeah, 10 to 12. Yeah. But again, a parallel feeling would have been 2015 defending, because nobody ever really defends the Calypso title, especially in recent times. Nobody expects you really to defend. I think people only consider the greats to be able to do so, and nobody ever really views the modern Calypsonian as having the capacity to defend. And I think defending was a feeling of self-fulfillment, not just for me, for Daddy, but for the entire family, in terms of the focus and the amount of work that we put in, and what Calypso means to the family as well. And really what I always wanted to represent as an artist, as a Calypsonian, as a reflection of Daddy and his society and the family as well. So 2015, I think, was an equally fantastic feeling, just like 2012. Childhood was it was mixed. My mom lived away for a significant period of time. She only came back when I was in my teens. So in analyzing myself as a result of that, I think I missed some nurturing, that motherly connection. I missed some of that. Most of my time was spent with Daddy, but also I spent a large number of my formative years with my grandparents. So I got the old school teaching, the old school upbringing, which was very important. And a number of things regarding values and discipline and manners and all of that. I got that from my grandparents. Daddy was in and around because I lived with his parents. Those were my grandparents during my formative years. But when they passed on, then I started to live with Daddy. And during that time, Daddy was very, very busy. He was very busy on a number of things because he was heavily involved in culture. If anybody know him, he was involved in Soca Monarch, Panorama, Calypso Monarch, Choral Arranging, Best Village, Parang. Roland Gordon was his name. So he was very busy. So a lot of the time, myself and my elder sister, we were left alone, but he implanted very important value systems. For him, education was key, and he never stopped short at re-emphasizing that, and he emphasized that in a number of areas, one of which he came into my school quite frequently. So the interest was there from him, and the teachers and the school community saw that. So, I wasn't able to fall short during my schooling at all. So I think my childhood was primarily focused on that, but because of who I was at the time and because of the wide range of experiences I had, I always was heavily involved in all areas of school life. So school was a nice time for me because I was involved in football, cricket, music, the choir. So I was fairly popular in the school setting. So it was a nice time. I enjoyed going to school. I enjoyed learning as well, based on the values that I was socialized into at an early age through my grandparents, also my aunties. They were also teachers. So I was always surrounded by disciplinarians, so I couldn't get away from that. But I think my childhood, as I said earlier, was a balanced childhood. I had a wide range of experiences. I grew up in good environments, whether it was a daddy or my grandparents. During school vacation, I was allowed to go by all my relatives, so I experienced family life through the extended family as well. So my childhood was very balanced, very balanced. I think my breakthrough where people started to pay attention would have been quite recent. I think 2012 was an important year. People started to recognize, all right, well, he has something to say. He has some ability. Let us take notice. And coming out of the win in 2012 into 2013, I think that's where I was now able to produce soca music that would receive a greater applause, so to speak. So the songs started to get greater rotation and that sort of thing, and that's where people started to recognize some 2013 into 2014's win. All right, he really does both soca and calypso, and they started to pay attention. So I think 2012 into 2013 was a major period in terms of my breakthrough and development. Biggest lesson learned: be yourself. Be yourself all the time, everywhere, no matter what situation or circumstance you're presented with. Be yourself, find yourself, and be that always, no matter what. That is the greatest lesson I've learned. There's a number of sub-lessons arising out of that. Contentment for me is key. One must be able to balance goals and aspirations. However, put it out there, but don't hold on to it. And not holding on to it, for me, is contentment. Being able to say, you know what, it's probably not for me. I'm still satisfied. I'm still whole. At this current point, I am still whole.
It doesn't break you down.
Yeah, it doesn't break you, and it is who I am. This contentment is who I am and what I am supposed to be. Yeah, definitely. It has been a good life. I must say I am giving thanks and praise every day for all that I mentioned previously. Yeah, and I am in a position now to do what I love to do, which is create music and perform. And I think I'm in a position whereby I can really explore and experiment a wide area of topics. I think if I sing a calypso about love, people may pay attention, if I sing a political commentary, people will pay attention. If I sing a party song, and for me that is a wonderful place to be in. As I said, it's just a true reflection of self and all that I ever wanted to be. And regardless of what may come in the future or not, I am eternally satisfied and grateful for all who would have contributed to the juncture I have found myself in. No, I have no regrets. Frankly speaking, I have no regrets. If there may be some things I probably would have done differently or would have done sooner, but no regrets. No regrets at all.
If you wasn't doing this, what you'll be doing?
I'll be doing what I was doing before. For those of you who don't know, I practiced social work for about 4 years at the family court. I due to complete a master's in human resource management. So my experience and exposure and who I became as an individual really resulted in me pursuing those areas of academia. Social work is something that I grew to love even before I entered university. That is something I enjoyed thoroughly while I was practicing, so that is what I would have been doing currently if I wasn't performing and doing the work of the industry. Well, I mean, it wasn't really OMG because we work for it. We plan, and you know, although I was not favorite coming into the March Grand Finals this year, I had two favorites in particular. The two favorites actually came second and third. But we work hard for it. I think for me this year, the OMG moment would have been the first song and the response of the crowd after I finished the first song. Reason being, I had a difficult time during the season with the song. The song is The Rose, basically saying our Prime Minister is able to distance herself from some of the scandals and challenges of the current government, and she still comes out smelling like a rose. There was a difficult time in terms of people understanding and interpreting the song, particularly tense. So the response to the song was kind of lukewarm, right? But on the March Grand night, given the presentation and the way I delivered, I suppose, and some changes to some of the lines, I was really surprised and shocked to see the response of the audience.
It was strange. I think the 10th audience didn't get it.
I suppose it's a different dynamic. The 10th audience comes to hear raw, direct, ponging whoever and seeing it as it is. The Rose is a little more crafty. It's a true satire, and the use of is metaphorical with the use of the rose. So I suppose people didn't want to come in the tent and sit down and think too much. And then I don't have the benefit of presentation to kind of clarify what I was saying in the tent. But on the March Grand night,
so what made you hold on to it? You were sure?
Well, actually, that wasn't the first choice. You know, the choice was another song called "The Defender Number 6." So I so happened to be the defender number 6. So, but because the song was saying that I am going to win again and I am going to be defender number 6, the 6th person to successfully defend the crown in the history of Calypso. And I told myself, you know what, to go with that song. Next thing, the judges not in favor of it. And people may comment and say, well, who does young boy feel he is? You know, win something. And, you know, so those thoughts were in the back of my mind. But what influenced the choice of the rose was the cabinet reshuffle that took place 2 weeks before Carnival. The reshuffle and some of the revocations and firings, that kind of solidified my thought that the rose would have been even more appropriate to use. And it so happened that subsequent to that development, everybody started to use the rose. The Prime Minister smells like a rose. All talk show radio programs, and then you're seeing people commenting. And the last week of Carnival, I'm seeing people come into the tent expecting to hear the song. You know, so that more or less gave me the confidence to utilize the song. But I was not expecting that response on the March Grand night. I think I got the loudest applause for the entire competition with that song, the song that I was having a difficult time with. So that was definitely an OMG moment. Walking off stage, I was like, yeah, wow, for real. Well, I always like to talk about the culture and the carnival and the arts and what it means to us and what we need to do with it in order to build our people and build our society. I think our arts reflect our history. It helps us to understand who we are as a people and why we are Trinbagonian and not East Indian or African or Chinese. If we really understand how the arts have informed our development over time, take the time to really understand and appreciate it, I think it will make for a better society. So for me, the solution to our challenges socially, politically and otherwise really have to start with artistic expression, and everybody understanding each other and each other's role, so that we could develop a true concept of what it means to be Trinbagonian. And it's only through that mechanism, I think, we will be able to transform the society and move away from the mistrust and the negativity and the isolation and deprivation, all the negatives that we experience. We need to educate ourselves as to who we are as a people, and that is something that we have never addressed as a nation. And I think that has to start now through what is happening and the evolution of the arts and culture and music. It probably needs to start with legislation regulating local content, because the more we see ourselves express ourselves, is the more we'll go to love ourselves. So think about it. Food for thought.